the ground floor of the building because of the demand.
And you are saying you get
several apartments and the ground floor.
Na mtazamaji, hebu sasa tuelekee hapa jijini Nairobi katika maeneo pale ya Benki Kuu ya Kenya, ambapo Patrick Njoroge ambaye ni gavana wa Benki Kuu ya Kenya anazungumza kuhusiana na hali ya uchumi wa Kenya.
NYS1. So in many of these things, again going back to that quote that I couldn't remember from Martin Luther King. Yes, at times we appear slow, but we will get there. So it may not be correctly a tortoise and hare and rabbit story, but the direction is clear, and we will get there. We will get there. Impact on the yield curve, and frankly, I didn't understand your question. So I can only break it into two. At this moment, we are not concerned about the yield curve. The yield curve appears stable. There has been, yes, a few, maybe one auction where the price on, I think, one particular bond or bill actually was, let's say, an aberration from the yield curve or deviated from the yield curve. But on the whole, the yield curve has been there, and it has helped all of us, and has been stable. So we are proud that that's something we can be proud about. Over the last 2 years, we've been able to have a stable yield curve that can guide the markets and can also be useful not just for pricing but also for investment decisions and so forth. In terms of the pace of borrowing, so that's the second part of your question. You are talking of domestic borrowing. It's true, we have a target for domestic borrowing at the end of the year, fiscal year. And at this moment, I believe we are, if you actually split it and sort of say we are at, every single day, just evenly, right? Straight line, that would be at 55%. That is the number I remember. Around 55%. Actually, today now, if you look at how much we've borrowed, we'll be about 45%. So that's your point, that we are a bit slow. The point is twofold. There is a lot of seasonality to begin with. And as I say, December tends to be a quiet month. And just look at last year. Last year, actually, we were further behind in your using your technique, and we actually caught up and were bang on the number at the end of the year. So I think the point here is that it's not a straight line. This is not a straight line maneuver. Fortunately, markets do not want to be held onto straight lines, and I don't know people that want to stay in their lanes that much, not even the markets. Then you're asking about the commodity prices. If I understand it, the commodity price changes have been less on our side, but they have a larger impact on commodity exporters, or those exporters that are much more, let's say, that we define as commodity exporters, because most of their revenue, most of their exports are commodities, right? One of the commodities, of course, is oil. And 50% of, or rather half of the African economies are oil exporters. And they complain when the price of oil slumps. And we complain when the price of oil goes up. So yeah, it's a terrible sort of world. And so from our perspective, our prices haven't been that affected. And I think this is a point we've talked about before, which is the sources of our resilience as a country, as an economy. And part of it is that we are highly diversified. So it goes back to that point of why is our economy still moving along, chugging along strong, while other economies are stumbling in particular ways. And I think part of that is the diversification in terms of commodity, in terms of exports, or rather in terms of, and also in terms of trade destinations. Again, we are not directed to one particular set of markets, even tea for that matter. We are not just exporting it to the UK. Actually, 3 years ago, the largest importer of tea from Kenya was Egypt. Egypt, of all places. You'd have thought it is, I don't know, some other place where they really enjoy drinking tea. So those are things that I think suggest that, or would make you believe that, or would confirm that changes in commodity prices in the major markets will not be so problematic for us. We've seen that movie before, and we know how it ends, and we can watch it again. Your last point I didn't get. What was the last point, or was that it? Age of volatility. There's a book I'm trying to get, which is known as Age of Volatility. I still haven't located it, but I guess I'll get it on Amazon or Jumia or whatever else it is. I think the points are, how do you deal with volatility? I think first and foremost and this was one of the discussion points that we had at the MPC, by having more buffers. So strengthening your policy buffers to begin. Well, actually, first in terms of general buffers like reserves, general buffers like having a strong, in a comfortable position in terms of your current account, being in a comfortable position in terms of your fiscal position. So being, let's say, in the middle of the road, so that you can jump in either direction. You don't want to be caught in a corner, in a manner of speaking. So you want to have buffers that you can go in either direction, right? So first and foremost is those. And then also policy buffers, meaning you can actually change policy much more quickly. You can tighten, you can loosen, because you don't know which way this shock will come. So age of volatility. And then thinking more about other things you can do to insure, other insurance mechanisms that you may have. And yeah, it's true, somebody asked a moment ago, we had actually the IMF program arrangement last time, partly to provide some of these buffers. Not because we needed it then, but actually because if there is a big shock, we didn't get a shock, as it turns out. But if there had been a big shock, then this would have helped us deal with it, at least in an incremental fashion. Brian had several questions. Maybe we should just go back to, not